Girlfriend, have you ever wondered how to unlock happiness? Well, girl, we're going to get into that on the other side of this video. So we'll see you on the other side. Well, hello there, Tiffany. So excited to have you here today. And we're going to get right into it because I just really want to just ask you these questions. I saw that you were going to talk about unlocking true happiness and how it's all about living in alignment. And it was just like, oh, girl, I got to find out more about this. So I'm just going to start off with the first question, and then we'll get to know you a little bit more after that. So when it comes to living in alignment and really unlocking true happiness, how does that contribute to our happiness, living in alignment?
And thank you so much for this question. It's so near and dear to my heart at this point in my life, because it's something that I dramatically experienced. When you look at your life and you say, this works kind of, this not so much, this not so much, right? And so in order for us to live in complete alignment with ourselves is to be intentional with what our values are inside, right? So if you want to lead with integrity, then you need to show up with integrity at all times, and then you're going to find that your relationships, right? So if we're not showing up in integrity, then neither are our relationships. And I find it to be such a powerful intersection, because oftentimes we will look at one area of our life that may be suffering or hurting, right? And so let's take our work, so you say, listen, Tiff, I'm really having a tough time at work, and it's not really helping me. I'm not really feeling, passionate about it and things like that. And I say to you, well, how's the rest of your life? You said, well, it's good. And I'm going to say, it's probably not. Wow. And I don't mean that with disrespect, right? But if you're going to some place for a lot of time and it doesn't feel totally aligned with you, if it doesn't ignite that passion within, then it's blocking you from all these other aspects of your life. And so it's not a matter of how bad they are. It's really to think about that question, how good or how much better can I create my world so that it influences all of these other aspects, right? Relationships are such a key component of this. When we look at relationships around us, do they feel in alignment with who we are? Or do we have a handful of people in our life that really don't align with us? Because those people will actually stop to, they're blocking you from living in total alignment with yourself. And so while it can be super easy for me to sit here and say, just, fire your job and, get rid of all the people in your life, that's not really the direct message. It's really to connect with self. And that's what this is all about. In order for us to live happy, to live in alignment, it needs to come back to us. It needs to come back to us.
Wow, that is so powerful. That was good, girl. That was so good. Okay, so now we got to get your business. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them. Because that was a juicy one.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Tiffany, and, I am humbly here to be as much of a guide, as much of a voice, as much as I can. I am devoted to myself. And this is why I can speak so passionately about living in alignment, because I had to take a really hard look at my life and say, what areas of my life, are blocking me from what it is that I want to achieve. And now, what do I want to achieve? Well, I want to achieve a space and place where I feel completely connected to myself, in love and in safety. And that may seem like it's easy, or I have that, right? But it takes a devotion to self to get there. And you can do it too. And that's really what I'm super passionate about right now. I am an energy healer, so I help beautiful women that, are a little stuck in their traumas and in their wounds and really these cyclical patterns of, we get into a relationship, especially a romantic relationship, and then we go, okay, that didn't serve me. So that's okay. That one's in the past. And then we almost all the time attract the same person, right, if we don't do anything in between. Right. And that can be a hard place for us to exist in. And so oftentimes, right, and you said it really beautiful before we even started this, it's not happening to me, right? It's happening around me. So what can I influence within? what can I shift? Because as far as I'm concerned, we can only be responsible for or control two things in our life. And it's how we react and how we show up. And how we react plays so powerfully into living in alignment. Because when we have a reaction, we often might go, oh, why did I do that? Right? But when we can pause and really have that sense of self, really be grounded with who we are and our boundaries and our integrity and our, right? Because we all have different definitions of every single one of these words, but most of us have them in our, in our values, And so for me, it's about getting my voice out, getting my message out to help other human beings, women especially, but especially these humans that you don't have to live a life of pain. And I say it with so much love, but it is a choice. And it's a choice you might not even know you have. And that's okay, right? That's okay. But I want to be that person that just maybe puts you on that other side, that connects you to yourself. Not that I'm the one doing it, right? But it's just that one message. And so I work with the energy bodies to help remove past life trauma, past life karma trauma, which is, so again, near and dear to my heart, but also this current life and our ancestral wounds, because they do block us. There's a lot that we get from our past lives and our energies and things like that are really, really powerful and helpful and so beautiful. And there's other areas that are ours to transmute. And so, I love to work with women, who are, 20 to really 20 and beyond, that just want to step more into themselves, with really, because when we do energy healing, it's amazing. It is amazing what you experience when you're done, and it's calm and it's still. And there are people that will show up to sessions, and I have to be honest with you, they haven't experienced that. And it's no discount to them at all, right? But do we have that peace inside? Do we have that love inside? And it's not love for others. It's that love for ourselves that matters the most.
Okay, so I love all of this stuff you're saying about the energy, because I serve introverted women, female entrepreneurs with introverted tendencies. And I know a lot of, it's not a lot. We get our energy from being by ourselves. So to be in an alignment with who we are innately are, we are alone to recharge. Mm-hmm. Now, we may be outwardly out doing a speaking gig or, talking to people, but after we do that, we're going to be very exhausted because that's draining our social battery, but we come back to recharge. When you think about being in alignment, would that be part of the alignment? To be a part of that true happiness? What are your thoughts on that? I'm just curious.
For sure. And I don't know that I've ever necessarily identified it that way, but I've recently discovered that I am a highly sensitive person. And I too, I give a lot of myself, but then I have to come back and I get real quiet around my family and stuff sometimes. And they think that I'm depressed, and I'm not. I'm just assimilating all of the energies all around me, and it just makes me quiet, right? But here's what I'll say about that is if I don't honor that, if you don't honor that, then you are living out of alignment, because you're saying you don't matter. And I think one of the most powerful things to understand is that we do matter. We effing matter. And I say that and I share that with the women around me, because I'm you should do that, because you matter too. So often we give so much of ourselves out to other people.
Right.
And so when I think about, if you're feeling these things, and this might be the first time, right? Let's say it's the first time that you're hearing that, then this all of a sudden might go what do I need to do? Honor it. That's it. Honor it. Witness yourself, right? Be with you. Come back home, because that's the best place that you're going to find out where you're even aligned with. If you haven't even, dug, if you're just on the surface of you, which many of us aren't, it's okay. We need to get still, and we need to get quiet, and we need to figure out what we want. And so if you are, introverted, as you're speaking of, and you just dismiss it, then of course you're not living in alignment, because you're not, and then everything around you, it won't necessarily suffer, but you won't show up in the best, space and place that you can. because you haven't taken care of yourself. And so often, especially with women, right? And I'm going to use this tree for an example. If you look at the tree, right? What is a tree? Underneath, you can't see it. It's the roots.
It's the roots, right?
That's us, right? So if you look at your tree stump, and now I'm going to say that that's the love for yourself. And if your branch, if your trunk is smaller than all the branches you support, then you're living out of alignment because you don't have that love within. And so we need to have a really strong foundation so that we can have things like boundaries. So we can say no. I really enjoy saying no, right? Because if it doesn't feel good to me, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
And that's okay. And so for us, when you look at your job, how much are you giving to your job? Do you care about it? Is it something that you love? Maybe don't do it because it will affect all these other parts of your life. And so for me, the number one way to come into alignment with yourself is to fall in love with yourself, is to make yourself a priority. Because when we do, everything else becomes that much easier and better. Relationships outside of ourselves, because in every relationship, it doesn't matter if it's a friendship or your boss, we show people how to treat us.
Yeah, we do.
Right? And if we don't have that love inside, then they don't have it for us either because we don't have it. And so when we realign with who we are, when we come back home, our relationships will shift because we've shifted. And that's really what we need to do because life is a beautiful. Now that doesn't mean that there's not, pain and things like that, but what you do with it, right? Again, we go back to that reaction point where it's like, are you reacting to the world or are you responding? And when we're in response, then we're coming more from our aligned self.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I guess when you think about past wounds or traumas that you've gone through, because when you're your true self, are you more, I guess you have more energy to overcome them or handle the situations that you're confronted with? Is that the way it seems?
So let's say, let's say that I'm a child. I'm 3 years old. I'm in the car with, let's say, my mom, and my mom gets hit by a red car. And I'm a child and I see something pretty scary, even though it didn't necessarily affect me, physically, it was a very traumatic experience. And so after that moment, let's just say I made this decision, because we do this all the time, but we're not always conscious aware of the little decisions or programs that we make. In my 3-year-old mind, I decide that red cars are unsafe and bad. And I don't know consciously that I've made this, right? And so now I'm 41 years old and it's like, I can't get a red car. I can't even be near a red car. But we might not have words to it, right? So we just might know, no, I don't like a red car. I really don't know why. But every time I see a red car or one that matches that same situation, say it comes up next to me and I was in the back seat, then my nervous system is already engaged. Right. And then let's just say, the husband, the wife, the kids spill the milk, and then we react. It's because our nervous system is already engaged. And so that is where you can remove, these, the dense energies is how I call it. So again, red car is this dense energy. And then with energy healing, right, it just becomes particles and they're separate now. Right. They're not dense. Like that's the best way that I can, describe it to my clients is just think of it like a fist. And then it's like sprinkles after, it's a rock versus, particles of air. And cool. And then you respond consciously with choice.
Yeah, I like that. So then when you think about your core values and your purpose, when you're living in alignment, what are the practical steps for that?
To take and it doesn't have to be deep, especially if this is, somewhat new, but I would, take stock, take inventory of where you are and what's really working and what really doesn't, and be super honest with yourself. If it's a relationship, if it's your job, if it's the place you live in, be really honest with that, because then and we cannot change things that we are not aware of. Right? And do we ever actually change, or do we just become aware, consciously aware to say, actually, I don't want that anymore. And then you can make the steps to, one of my friends texted me and said, I'm so upset about having to go to work on Monday. I can't stand it. I can't stand this feeling. And I said, what do you want to do? not go to work. And I said, no. What lights you up? She's like, I have to think about that. I said, great. Think about that. That also matters. How do you like to spend your free time? Right? So I go back to myself. Something that I've been doing is scheduling in reading. I love to read. I love to learn. And I miss that if I don't actually schedule it in and make time for me. Because we cannot fill other people's cups, wholly and completely if we haven't filled our own first.
Exactly.
And so it really, again, comes back to self. So, being super honest with yourself. Meditating is a great way to connect with yourself. Even just going for a walk in nature and saying, show me, I'm humbly here. There are easy ways for us to really kind of figure that out. Even just asking yourself, well, what are my values? Well, I want to show up with integrity. Well, that means that you have to show up in integrity in your life. And where are you not doing that? Because if it's in your relationships and you're not showing up in integrity, you're not attracting that. Because again, it's a law. It's the law of attraction, right? And so if you're not showing up in your integrity, if you're like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll just, take, let's just say, I'm just going to print all this at work because I don't want to have to pay for it. Is that in your integrity? I don't know. That's for you to decide, right? But there's little ways that we can really understand when we're in integrity. And what happens is we become aware, and therefore we can shift. Without awareness, we can't do anything about it.
Right.
And so it comes back to that inner understanding of like, who am I? And if you haven't sat down with your values, it's cool. It was pretty recent for me too. And it's such a beautiful experience to look at yourself. Simply looking at yourself in the mirror can be really hard for a lot of people.
Yeah. I know when you said that, it made me think about, I kind of get a feeling when I'm like, if I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing. It's like an inner feeling that I get. Some people would call it the Holy Spirit. Some people may say that it's, I'm just trying to think of other things people would say, but people call it different things, but it's like, I get that inner feeling like, okay, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
Stop it, kind of thing. That draws me. And as a result of that, it's like, it's almost like, it's like a slap, not really a slap in the face, but it's just like an awakening. Like, okay, I don't know what you were just thinking about or doing, but let's just snap out of it and change direction. So when you said that, I can definitely relate to that for sure.
And I think that that's a beautiful point that you make too, because we will come into these situations and scenarios, and you might have acted you might in the past have acted in a different way, but now you know something different. And that is the most important thing you continuously tell yourself. I know something different now. Because often we want to say, oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? Oh, I'm so foolish. Well, you didn't know what you know now. In this moment, you know something different. And that's okay. So we just move forward, right? There's no point in holding that guilt and shame. It's very toxic to our mind, body, and soul to hold that. And it's like, for what? A lot of times it's because it makes us feel safe. It's an illusion, right? The ego says it makes us feel safe. And that Holy Spirit above us says, not so much, girlfriend. You're not dodging this.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's really important that people not let that stifle them for stepping out of their comfort zone or trying something new, because the only way that you learn is to fail. I mean, when you're successful, you don't learn anything. So it's imperative that you step out your comfort zone to see all the wonderful things that you could possibly do. And granted, it will be an iterative process, because that's how we learn. You're not going to just up and say, oh, I'm going to make a sales funnel today, and you've never done it. You have to go through the trials and tribulations, because that's how you learn. It's like, oh, well, this is how I do it, because when I did it this way, that didn't work. So let me do it this way. So yeah. And I guess that is the iterative process that you go through as an entrepreneur, figuring out what you're going to do. And I know that can be oftentimes why people don't necessarily want to do it, because it's the fear of the unknown, because you don't know how long it's going to take.
Right.
You don't necessarily know the steps that you got to take. And if you are a person that feels like you have to know everything beforehand, being an employee is easy because you've seen it. So many people do it. You go to school, you get a degree, you get a job, you work there for 30 plus years, you get your gold watch. Yeah. Entrepreneurship is not like that. You do this step today, but you may do this over here, and then you may do this over here. So it's not iterative, and it is iterative, but it's not a straight line type of journey. So
it's really not. And what I really love about entrepreneurs, especially now, whenever, what I find, and this is just anecdotal, right, is that the ones that step out on their own, they have the deepest desire and devotion to themselves. And that's no accident. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we were to take stock of when we stepped out of the corporate world to where we are now, it's remarkably different. I mean, I can speak to myself, right? I'm sure Inga, you can say, say the same thing.
Sure.
We need to dip our toes into the unknown, because again, we put ourselves in a box. If we try to predict everything, well, that can't happen. Why would I do that? What if this happens? What if this happens? Then you deal with it.
Yeah.
Right?
You figure it out.
You figure it out. Same as you did any other thing. But again, it's that, and a lot of that comes to the fear of, am I good enough? That's self-worth issues. And those are some of the deepest energetic blocks we have, because we are all worthy. But if that's not our story, if that's not the program that we've told ourselves, because a lot of times we tell ourselves the opposite. Right? And so that becomes our reality. And so you might need to work to shift that reality. But you can. You can.
Yeah, you still can. You
can. It's an invitation,
Yeah. And that's why I feel like it's my duty to help other fellow introverted women that are entrepreneurs figure it out, because we get so much bad rap when it comes to, well, she's not social, or she can't lead. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. She doesn't talk. She seems like she's mad all the time. And it's not that we're mad, we're just processing. That's really what we're doing. We're taking the time to process. And the other person that's an extrovert that doesn't process the way we do, we're seen as odd. But, the fact that, like you said, when we live in alignment and we know that we're being true to ourselves, that's where our happiness lies, and allows us to really be the person that we were meant to be. So, for sure, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So I know you had given me your website. Do you have any goodies on there that people can connect with you and share or learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so you can head over to my website, and that's, where all of my, if you were interested in energy healing, that would be the place, for that. But I can be reached on my socials as well, just, if you have any questions. Because I also know that some people are really ready for energy healing.
Right.
Some want it, but they want to know more about it. And that's totally okay, because, we have to meet ourselves in this, and that can be really hard. And so, are you ready? And this is something I ask my clients all the time. Are you ready to let this go? Because if you're not, it's okay. It's just not for right now. And that's okay too. Right? But when I do energy healing, I'm not a guide. I'm a channel for it. I'm a conduit for it, but you're the one doing the work.
Yeah.
It's you, it's your story, it's your life. And it's what you want to make of it, And right now I'm hosting a masterclass next week that's called I Effin' Matter, for this exact reason, for this exact conversation that we have right here, because you do matter. And sometimes, and this is why I love, podcasts like this, because we're taking what we know and doing our best to get it out there to inspire other women, to get them so darn excited about themselves. And that, to me, is one of the most beautiful gifts that we can help give. And so if something here, it doesn't mean you have to heal with me, that's not it at all. But if your message is you're being called to, to find these next moments, these next, places in your life where you can heal these traumas and these wounds, that's great.
Well, Tiffany, it has been a pleasure to connect with you today. You gave us so many golden nuggets. Thank you, thank you, thank you. More to think about, introverts. I know you guys were probably pondering on this for a couple of days, which is all good. That's what we do. And for those of you that are watching, if you have anyone you would love for me to interview, by all means, let me know. Send me a DM or connect with me on my socials, which you guys are fully aware of on the YouTube channel. So we look forward to seeing you soon. And again, thanks for watching, and bye for now.